to this. Hello. I have a very special guest today. We'll get to that in a second, but the reason she's a special guest today is in my 30 years of teaching, I've come across a lot of very interesting stories and people, and the beauty of this class is now I get to share those with you. So, hello, Sue. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Sue. I've been a friend of John's for a long time, and I am the parent of a 40-year-old Down syndrome son, which is why we're having this conversation. I was a teacher for 28 years. Before that, I worked in accounting. I don't know, what else would you like to know?
What level did you teach at?
I taught third through sixth, different grades. A lot of times it was just reading, but that wasn't my preference. I liked having the class to myself all day long.
Nice. All right. So your daughter is now a teacher, is that correct?
That is correct. She teaches high school English.
So you come from a family of educators, which is
My aunt was as well, yes.
all right. So tell us a little bit. You just mentioned Brian's 40. Tell us a little bit about Brian.
Well, first of all, I can't believe he's 40. Um, it was a shock when he was born with Down syndrome. We weren't expecting it, but he was very healthy. So we were lucky for that. His APGARs were 8 and 9, and he has no heart problems, which is very common to a lot of the children with Down syndrome. So we were very fortunate with that. He was always a very active little guy. So when he was 4, we signed him up for the Chicago Park District for swimming classes, and he just loved it. And from there, he transitioned into the Special Olympics that the Chicago Park District does. And it's all over everywhere, but in Chicago, you do it through the Park District. So it's in a central location. And he's been doing that since he was 8 years old. And the benefits to that, we just can't even begin to say. He's learned so many sports: bocce, swimming, basketball, volleyball, floor hockey. I mean, every season it's something else, and he just loves it. Plus, even more important than all of that, it's his friends. It's his social group. It's his peers. You know, we all have friends and peers, and we always, Dave and I, my husband, always thought that was important for him to have that as well. It's not the same, but it's his normal, and we thought that was more important than anything else that he could do, to have friends and a social life.
So just generally tell us a little bit about what is Down syndrome? What are the characteristics?
A Down syndrome means you have an extra chromosome, an extra 21st chromosome, and that one chromosome, believe it or not, affects a lot of different things. The facial characteristics are, recognizable, which in some way is a blessing, because when people see him, they do know that he's not, regular or normal. And I use that term because I'm a mom and I can. But people can see right away that he has a disability, which is helpful, because some of the children do not. And, people assume that they're going to be on par, and they're not. So that makes it easier, I think, for him and for us. They're slower to learn things, but it doesn't mean that they can't. Brian can read. He reads at about a third grade level, which, you think it's not that good, but a third grader can read. They really can. So he has a hard time with abstract concepts like money and time are just not his thing. He knows that he has to have money, and like he buys coffee every day where his workshop is, and it's $1.50. So he knows he has to have $1.02. But if you had to just like give him $5, he wouldn't be able to figure out how to get the difference from that.
All right.
And time, look at his Fitbit. Loves his Fitbit, looks at his Fitbit to see what time it is, because his bus better pick him up on time for school.
So tell us about when Brian started around kindergarten, first grade, when he started going into school. Share some experiences of what that was like for you guys.
Brian started school at 3 years old because he attended something that they call early intervention programs. So the bus would come and pick him up at 3 years old, and he went for a half a day. A lot of that was like motor skills and speech and just socializing. So, sorry, my throat.
That's okay.
I know. I should have got water before I started. So then he transitioned after 3 to 6. He went to like a regular school. He was in regular public schools, but I didn't want him in a regular education class. I didn't think it was fair to him. So every year we signed off and put him in a special education classroom. Smaller numbers of kids, a teacher dedicated to the special ed, and usually with an aide or an assistant in the room. So we made that choice every year.
So tell us then, if he's out in a self-contained class, what was his PE experience like? Was he
They did go to gym class with the regular students in the building, yes. Any of the specials, gym, art, library, the kids would go. And, you know, I wasn't too familiar with what was going on, except like in those classes, obviously in his main one I was, but in the specials, not so much. But I was assured that they were, because the aide would go and the aide knew the children. So they would work, you know, extra attention on the details, like repeat the instructions, give examples so that they could try to keep up with the rest of the gym class. And pretty much that's all it takes sometimes. Now, sometimes the kids just can't do certain things. You know, I'm not very flexible. I could never touch my toes. So, you know, but if you explain it and if you go slow enough and you show them, they can do it. It might take a little longer, but they're certainly capable of doing things.
Well, so Dave is an athlete. I mean, I played softball.
Oh, big time.
Right. So
my husband does every sport on earth and then some, or he did. He's old now, so we try to discourage it. Yeah.
So I assume that probably then had an effect on Brian and his want to be
probably. He probably inherited his athletic ability from his dad, because he did not get it from me.
So as Brian progressed through school, did you know, what was like high school like? What was the rest of his educational experience like?
Well, high school, again, we chose to send him to a public high school in Chicago that was only special ed students. They tried to talk us into sending him to our local high school. And I go, and what is he going to do there? You know, is he going to sit there in algebra and count pennies? You know, because they said they'll give him an aid and all of that. And I'm like, no, you know, we did not want that. So we put him in a special education high school where he was very happy. And he learned a lot of skills in there. I mean, they would have different, he could read, so that was a plus, but he would do like computer things. He would, they'd work on the school newspaper. They had like a car washing class. They had a class where they would deal with plants. They would go out into the community. And in fact, my dad's wife at the time worked at the college across the street at Northeastern, and Brian and his class walked in one day and she was so shocked to see him. They were there to do some office work and help out with things. She called me and she's like, you'll never know who just walked in my door.
So it was more of a life skills based program.
Absolutely. And that's what we wanted for him. You know, I didn't care if he could learn how to add or subtract and all of that, which he can a little bit. But that wasn't my main goal. My main goal was for him to be able to function in society. And he did learn that.
So
you've met him, you've seen him. He functions.
Earlier, you talked about getting him among his peers and social interaction. But how does physical education, how does sports kind of come into that for him? How does it make him feel when he competes and when he's among his friends and teammates?
He loves that, and he's part of a team, and they take their teams very serious. We were downstate one time at Special Olympics, and they were playing soccer, and one of the other team members knocked off the glasses from one of their team on accident. All of the boys went rushing over, and they're yelling at this other guy, hey, you know, that's my friend. And the coaches are like, okay, man. You know, they feel that sense of community and a teammate just like everybody else does. So I think that's important for him to have that.
So sometimes, you know, physical education then is a lot more than just learning different footwork drills or, you know,
big time learning, as you would know, it's teamwork, it's, you know, cooperating. It's, you know, it's not always about you, you know, you've got a whole team and they have to work together on many of these sports to achieve goals. And they do that. And because of that, they build a bond. He has many, many dear friends from all of his years of doing, you know, Special Olympics. And believe it or not, he's got a cell phone. They call each other all the time. They're chit-chatting. He has sleepovers with some of his friends. They come over here. they have parties. We just had a big giant 40th birthday party for him that he had been telling us he wanted for 2 years and told us exactly where he wanted it. So we just did that. But he's got friends, and that's all we really wanted for him, to be happy and have friends.
So you just mentioned Special Olympics.
Mhm.
Tell us some of those experiences. How did he get in that? And what were some of his successes? Did he have any kind of setbacks or failures that he had to
You
overcome?
don't have you don't have failures in Special Olympics because everybody, well, just like a normal population, everybody comes in with different strengths and weaknesses, and they make sure that you're participating. If you're good or not, you're given the chance to participate. So that's always very helpful. He's been in the Special Olympics itself. You have to be 8 in order to participate in that. So he's been doing that since then.
And enjoying it too.
Oh,
Right.
loves it. He gets
Right.
mad when there's no park, when it's break. The big highlight is if they win gold in the city, they get to go downstate to compete for the state. And that's like sleeping over in the hotels, or if it's the summer, they stay in the dorms. Loves it. If he doesn't have a gold medal, he gets mad because he can't go. But that hardly ever happens, so we don't have to worry about it.
Is there anything else you want to share with us about, you're talking to some future teachers or current teachers. What do you want to share about? Anything else that we haven't kind of covered that you want to share with these teachers?
Um, you know, in addition to all of the mental health benefits, there's health benefits to them to participating in the sports as well. They're running, they're exercising, they're doing things that they wouldn't be doing if he was just sitting at home on the couch. And he's given a chance to do things. Like I said, he has a sister that's 3 years younger than him. He would see her doing all of these things, and he wanted to do things as well. So while their lives are totally different, they each have their own things that they do. In our house, we always say, what's fair for one isn't fair for the other. And I think that's true no matter what kind of kids you have. You might have a driver that's very responsible, and you might have a kid you're never going to give the keys to. So fair for one isn't an equal isn't always the same. But we've given him as many opportunities as we can to be out in the community and have a life. He's working now. He goes to an adult training center. He works in the bakery. He makes cookies. Right now they're working on Christmas stuff. They have a huge Christmas bazaar. So he comes home every day, and let's see, I think yesterday they were doing chocolate covered Oreos, and they're decorating them for like Halloween and for the holidays. And he works in their bakery once a week. And then he's in there selling, works the cash register, knows how to do all of that. And then I think one Saturday about a month he works. We have to drive him there and back, and he works there, and he loves it.
So just kind of summarizing what I just heard in that is that he's gotten a lot of opportunities to try things and hasn't been denied opportunity. Is that
We actively sought that out for him. Being a teacher, you want the best for all of your kids. And I mean, if he was going to sit at home on the couch playing video games, which he does do. When the pandemic was here, that's all he did. He got really good at some of them too, but I'm like, oh no, we didn't get back to school.
right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's the main thing. I think that every kid, no matter what, they should be given an opportunity. I might not be the best athlete, but did I try? Sure. And it's good for you. It's good for everybody, I think, to feel part of, a group, to feel like you belong. And that's all we ever really wanted for him.
Well, thank you, Sue. I really appreciate you taking time to share yours and Brian's story. And I think this will be very, very helpful. So thank you.
I hope it is helpful. And I hope that all the future teachers remember, just find out what they like and give them a chance. You never know what they can do until they try.